Hello, everybody. How you doing today? This is Dr. Barrett Matthews. I am excited to be here. I'm very excited to be here because we are doing that's right, another Media Boss Pro. Well, actually, a Media Boss Live for you from Media Boss Pro. So I want to clear that up. Media Boss Live, we haven't done them in a while because you see I'm a little rusty with it, huh? But this is Media Boss Live, and what we're going to do is we're doing a special series right now. That's right. We're doing a special series. We're going to be meeting, I'd like to say every day of the work week, but it'll be quite every day. But I'm going to do it like 5 days a week. So we're going to go over 5 days of media strategies you can act on now. 5 days of media strategies you can act on now. And today it's let's make a documentary. So 5 days of media strategies you can act on now. And I know you're saying to yourself right now, well, Barrett, it's Tuesday. You didn't do one Monday. Well, some of you saw the post. Some of you saw the post, and we did not do one on Monday. Like I said, it's going to be almost every day. Some days it's going to be 5 straight days. But what I want to make sure is that we get you all educated on some things that you can use media for to help grow your business and to help you to do better and get more people, especially for those people in the market who I really target. And that market is those of the retired CEOs and the C-suite executives out there. Many of you are in that C-suite. Many of you are in that corner office or in those offices right now, and you have a very high position, and you may have been doing it for quite some time. And it may be time to start thinking about what's next. And for some of you, that could be a little daunting, just thinking about what's next because you've been doing one thing for so long. Some of you, you may be excited about it. Some of you may be saying, you know what, I want to get in retirement and just ride off into the sunset and never look at business again. But that's hard for a lot of people. And before we get into the documentary, I want to explain why I'm talking about this because it's hard for a lot of people to actually wrap their head around after they leave this position for so long. What do they do? What's my identity? What is my purpose? Do people need me anymore? And I'm saying this, I'm not trying to bring anyone down, but these are real issues that happen. And I've seen it with people. I've talked to people where they say they've gone into a depression because they didn't know what was next. They had attached themselves to that position for so long that they didn't know what was coming next for them. Now, that being the case, I contend to people that you don't have to go into a bubble. You don't have to get in that corner and just get into a balled up position, a fetal position, so to speak. You can actually still thrive outside of the corporate structure, so to speak. You can have your own business going. And a lot of people, when they're leaving business, especially as CEOs, they already have businesses in place of their own, or they have ideas of businesses that they would like to run on their own. And because of that, they're able to do that. But it doesn't mean that they have the visibility that they want. It doesn't mean that just because they have a business of their own that they people know who they are. So what I want to do is help them to do that. Now, for some of you, you may not have a business of your own, but you've been in that position so long that you've attached yourself to that title, to that position. And you're still wondering, well, I don't know what to do. Well, understand this. You have an expertise. That's why you're in that position. You have a skill set in which you're very good at. That's why you're in that position. You have people that come to you for information and knowledge. That's why you're in that position. Just because you leave the company, it doesn't mean your knowledge dissipates. It doesn't mean that your level of expertise just goes away. It's still there. Why not share it with the world? Why not take the experiences that you've accumulated over all these years and share them with people? Use media to do that. So at Media Boss Pro, what I want to do and what we want to do with my team, we turn retired CEOs and we turn C-suite executives into industry icons. Shouldn't you be the one that people go to? Like I said, we've worked a long time. You've accumulated a lot of knowledge. Shouldn't you be the one that people go to get that information? Some of you right now, you may be a quote unquote solopreneur. You're still the CEO of your operation. You still have a lot of information to give. Some of you right now, you may have a business where you have a team and it may not be where you exactly want it to go. Don't you think media is a great way to get it out there a little bit more so people can know who you are, what you do, and how they can get in touch with you? Yeah. Media is the way to go. And when I say media, let me be clear because I get a lot of people who are confused when I say the word media. And I know that some of you are like, wow, why? Media is media. Well, because of the era we're in right now, when I say media, the first thing that a lot of people think of, oh, so like Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm like, that's social media. That's only one form of media. And some of you may be saying, oh, right now, you may be thinking that right now, oh, okay, so there's more. Yes. Think about it like this. Right now, we're on a live stream. That's another form of media. You have a television in your house, most likely. That's another form of media. You have a car radio. That's another form of media. You may listen to podcasts. That's another form of media. You could read a magazine, a newspaper, a book. Those are another form of media. A blog, another form of media. Social media, as I mentioned earlier, another form of media. And of course, today we're talking about let's make a documentary. That is another form of media. Now, some of you may be thinking when we talk about documentaries as we transition here, and excuse me, like I said, it is morning, so getting my cup of coffee. But some of you may be thinking as we delve into this that, well, I'm not a filmmaker. I don't think that I should be doing a documentary. And I say to you, well, why not? Why shouldn't you be doing a documentary? What's the thing that's stopping you from doing a documentary? Is there something that you're scared of, that you're a little anxious about? I get it. Most people, when they think of documentaries, they think of these massive productions. But understand this, I'm talking about a corporate documentary. I'm talking about something that's business related. We're not talking about going into, what types of foods you eat and, dissecting all of that and the ills that are going on with the world, unless that is your business. But right now, we're talking about a business documentary. So why do a business documentary first? Well, it's very simple. One main reason to do a business documentary is because it gives people out there who want to do business with you a deeper insight as to not only what you do, but why you do it. It gives people a better view of not what your company is, but who you are. And I mean, come on, this is common sense. If someone knows that you're doing something that they think is good and needed, and they know why you're doing it, it makes them more apt to want to do business with you. If people not only know your company name, but know who is behind it and they think that is something good and noble, they're more apt to want to do business with that person and that company. So, a documentary about you is one of the ways to do that. So, we're going to delve into that. We're not going to take a whole lot of time on it. There are a lot of steps, and if you'd like to schedule a time with me where we can talk later, I'll give you my website and you can do that. But I'm not going to go into too much detail on that as far as all the things you need to do. So we're going to go over like 12 steps right now. I'm only going to be another 20 minutes or so, but I'm going to go over 12 steps for you, helpful tips for making a documentary. So let's make a documentary. Okay, you ready? Okay, so number one, you want to write your script. You want to write your script before you start creating the documentary. And I know that sounds like duh, but yeah, but you wanna write your script before you start creating the documentary. And I always say when you're writing your script, understand, guys, you're not writing a feature film. When you're doing a corporate documentary, you want to be able to capture people's attention and keep their attention, which means it can't be long. This is just me. Some people recommend longer. I recommend a documentary 30 to 40 minutes at most. At most. Some people do them 10 minutes, and that's fine too. But the thing is, you want to make sure that you're writing a script that can keep people's attention. So that means that you're going to have intros. You're going to have the thesis, a historical background, a build up. You're going to have the main event, as you should say, the main cog of your documentary, and you're going to have something that brings impact to people, something that makes them want to see more, want to learn more, and a good conclusion to it. And I know you're thinking, wow, this sounds like a screenplay. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because it's real. This is not something that's made up. You don't have to manufacture it. It's real. So you just want to make sure that you have a good script and you write that script. And you may have to, and you'll probably hear me say this over and over again, you may have to bring in some help to do that, some people who are good at that. Now, this next thing you have to do, number two, you want to collect all the visual items that you're going to need. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you've seen documentaries before, and I'm sure you have, they may show a book. They may show a document and show how, and go down that document and show you everything, or highlight something in a page of a book. So these are visuals. It may be an object that you're going to need to get a hold of. It may be a drawing. It may be a painting. It may be something that you're going to need to show people, a map, something like that. Just to show these things. But these are visuals. It may be just a scrapbook, pictures, things like that. You're going to need these visuals. So you want to collect them all, because when it comes to shooting, you don't want to be looking for them. Does that make sense? Because you're going to need all of those visuals to make it so that when you're ready to go, when you're ready to produce, you can scan them. Now, one thing you can do, depending on what you do, and this is going to be so simple, guys, so simple, because you're thinking, well, how am I going to get all those things? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at what you can get from a public library. Yeah, just from a library. And also, I mean, we're in a different age now, man. There's so many things online that you can grab hold of. And you may have to leave the house every now and then. Go grab some things, scan some things, take some photos, get some documents from somewhere. It's okay. But you want to make sure you get your visuals in order. So number three, you want to use a storyboard. Now, some of you are saying, what is a storyboard? Well, think about when you watch a movie or a TV series. They have different scenes that are blocked out, but it's all telling a story. What you may want to do is just take a whiteboard and just write out blocks. There's different blocks. This is going to be this one. This is going to be this one. This is going to be this one, and it's all leading to a story. So you have to make sure that you are telling a story in different sections, and they call a storyboard. And in that, you want to get to a logical conclusion at the end. So what this does, it takes what you have in your script and puts it on something so you can see a visual of what it may look like. You can draw pictures in the boxes. You can write words in the boxes of your storyboard so that it makes sense to you when you look at it. So when you're blocking out what you're going to do for your documentary, you have everything in a logical sequence. So now you can move forward and get things going because you can see it. It helps you visualize it so much more when you do a storyboard. Now, speaking of visualizing, your storyboard has to match your visuals to your script. Remember, we talked about number two, where you have to get those visuals in order. Well, if you're going to have a document showing a legal purchase of some land in there, then you need to be able to have your script in that storyboard line up with that document. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure that you put all of that in order so that it actually lines up with one another. Now, number 4, record your narration. Record your narration. So the narration, and I know this is going to sound kind of idiotic again, but I have to say it. The story has to drive those visuals. The visuals shouldn't drive your story. So you have to make sure that when you're narrating it, that you lead it to those stories, to those visuals. And it makes it so that they go, ah, that's what he or she is talking about. So make sure you do that. Now, you want to have a quiet place to record. Once again, this is common sense. You want to make sure you use a good microphone. A good microphone, because using a microphone that's built into the computer a lot of times is not necessarily the best way to go. So you want to have a good microphone. Make sure your sound is clear. Make sure it's concise. Make sure there's no popping sound, so you're not too close to the microphone. Practice it. I always say practice your script. Go over it. Do your narration over and over again until it sounds the way you want it. Don't rush it. Practice it. Use a good way to enunciate your words. Make sure that you're clear on it. Make sure that you emphasize certain things that you need to emphasize. And I know a lot of times when we write out scripts, sometimes when we're reading the script, it sounds like you're reading it. That's why you want to practice it. Practice it so it sounds like you are just talking it and that you know it. And one good way to do that is don't record it all at once. Record it in different blocks. You know, you may want to just talk about one thing for 30 seconds to a minute and then stop so that you don't go any further with it and, mess up what you were getting to. Does that make sense? So you want to just keep going in different blocks so that you can then edit them all together and make it sound a lot better. And like I said, please, 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 please try to record in a quiet place. Now, one thing that I suggest you do for a documentary, interview people. Interview people. And more than one, if you can. Interview people because it gives the viewer a different view of things. It gives them an outside view. So it's not just me talking about me all day long. It's other people who are saying that person does this and this is why they do it, or this person did this historically and I'm the authority on that and I just want to verify it because I'm that person. So it takes you out of it and puts someone else into it. It could be an eyewitness or something that's depending on whatever your documentary is pertaining to, but having other people that you can interview, it definitely brings a different viewpoint to it. Now, one thing about doing that, same thing as I said before about recording your script, make sure that when you're doing interviews, that you're in a quiet place, that you have good visuals. And something I didn't mention, please, 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 have good lighting. Good lighting. Bad lighting can ruin any type of visual. Bad lighting can ruin it. So, speaking of visuals again, number 6, insert your visuals now. You heard me talk about getting all the visuals in order, getting them together. Now you want to insert them. Now you may change your mind on which ones you want to use from time to time. That happens. Trust me, it happens. Some of you may not want to use. Some of you gathered because you wanted it so bad. Then when you get down to productions, I don't think I need this. It could happen. Don't beat yourself up over that. But you got to get it going. Start getting it in. Now, when you're putting everything together, and because remember, we're in a digital age now, and you can use different things like iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, things like that to help put your film together. And when you're putting it all together, it can take up a lot of space on your computer. Make sure you have something that can save it all, and also make sure you save things frequently. Back it up. Make sure you save things frequently because we all know what can happen, right? We've been there before, right? Yeah. So I don't even think I need to go into that. So just make sure you're saving it frequently. And understand what your reason for doing the documentary is. We're getting into number number 8 now. Number 7 was say frequently. So number 8, don't try to put too much into your project. And for instance, you could have all of these visuals. That doesn't mean you have to put all the visuals in it. You could have so much that you want to say. That doesn't mean you have to say everything. Don't try to cram everything into the project. Doesn't have to be that. Leave some room to use title screens and let the viewer think. Let the viewer see something and realize, this is what they meant. Or let them hear something and let them put together their own opinions on it. You don't have to put everything A, B, C, D. You can have A, B, C and let them figure out the rest of the alphabet, if you know what I'm saying. So don't think that you have to put everything in it. The greatest thing that your audience should be able to do is to think and to gather their own opinions. You're not trying to shape their mind. You're just trying to show them some things and let them form an opinion about it. And what it'll do is it'll allow things to really sink in. It'll allow your audience to really understand who you are, what you're about. But don't try to put everything in it. Don't put too much stuff into your project. Okay. Now, number 9, transitions. So, a lot of people put some crazy transitions into their projects, into their film projects. And what are transitions? It could be when you're changing from one scene to another, and you get those crazy wipes on the screen, and this goes on, different music that takes you to it, and they just do different things, and a zoom in and zoom out, and it goes black or whatever. Don't get me wrong, all of them can be good. I suggest traditional fades, fade to black. Not all photos are going to need a transition. You can just show a photo, pop it up there. Now, in saying that, I know you're saying, well, Barrett, you're going to contradict yourself, aren't you? Well, kind of, a little bit. So, in saying that, guys, make sure that you do use transitions, because the last thing you want in your documentary is it to be blah for the eyes. When people see it, it needs to make the eyes pop. It needs to capture their attention and make them say, wow, I like watching this. Some of the things in your cinematography have to be something that's appealing. It has to be something that's appealing. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. If you look at something like Spike Lee does movies where, if you notice, a lot of times he has films where he has a camera that's on a runner and he's just running up with the person on their face as they're moving. That's his cinematography. That's his style. And what it does is it makes people pay attention because, one, we know that's how he does things, and it stands out. It makes them sound different. That's the only reason I'm talking about it, because I notice this stuff. Make something noticeable about you and your documentary. Like I said, don't go crazy with it. Don't do it every time you have a transition that you're going to do something, the same thing. I give another example for those old school people like me. Remember the old Batman TV show? Remember when they changed to another scene and they have the thing spinning on? Da, 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 da. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to do that every time you change the scene. It doesn't have to be something like that. It doesn't have to be that dramatic, that dynamic. But you can do something, a wipe, a zoom in and zoom out, a fade that really works, that makes people pay attention to it. So that's what you can do. Now, number 10, listen to your documentary, listen to it and watch it being critical. Being critical. Try to do it with an objective ear, with objective eyes. Look at it so that you can say, you know what, I don't like that, or, oh, that's good. Make sure that you're doing that. Now, the best way that I say you can do that is to bring in people who didn't put it together to look at it. Because they may tell you, you know what, Barrett, I like that, but You know what would be good here is if you use some music here that was a little jazzy, or that you did something here that lets the people know that it's a solemn moment in your life, and they need to bring the mood down. Or you may need to change the colors of this something, because you want to get an outside view of it, because if they do that, they can tell you if it worked a little better for them. And it's like I said, it's not just the ears, but it's the eyes. You want to make sure that people can see all these things and hear all these things to help you to make it better. Now, number 11, you want to make sure that you give credit where credit is due. If you've done, remember when you had to do book reports in school and you had to go through the bibliography and make sure you gave all the credits? Well, same thing here. If you did research and you pulled something from somewhere, give credit and put it in your documentary. Make sure that you are not stealing something and plagiarizing something and putting it in there. Give the credit to people who deserve the credit. And number 12, before we wrap up, number 12, I want to say make backup copies of your project. I can't emphasize that enough. I know I talked about saving them earlier, but make backup copies of your project and do it on, different formats so that you have it and you don't lose it and it doesn't go anywhere, because the last thing you want to do is to have that happen to you. And I'm going to add a bonus. I know I said we had 12, but I'm going to give you 13, because this one I think is necessary. Make sure that everything that you're putting in your documentary legally can be put in, legally can be said, legally can be put out there. The last thing you want is to have someone coming after you after you've done such a great job and worked so long and put those tiring hours in, to have someone say you can't put it out there because you've done something that they could sue you for. So make sure you have all the copyrights and everything in order, that you have it so that it can be done properly. So those are my 12/13 steps to getting a podcast started. So like I said, let's start a podcast. And guys, I want to say to you this. If you are interested in talking further with me, you can. We can start a pod. We can get your I said podcast. I'm sorry, I meant a documentary. We can get your documentary started ASAP. We can do a podcast too, but we can get your documentary. I told you this morning for me too, guys. You can get your documentary started ASAP. ASAP. You can do it on your own. If you want help, we can talk about that as well. But I'm telling you guys, there's an audience out there who wants to learn from you. They want to know what you know. It's incumbent upon you to share it with them. Documentaries are a fantastic way to let people know not just what you do, but why you do it. Not just who your company is, but who you are. I just emphasize to you to make sure you get it out there and share it with people. So, we'll be back again. Make sure you check the schedule. For more Media Boss Live, I am Dr. Barrett Matthews. And as I always say, don't just settle for being awesome. Set your goal to all them all. Take action, everybody, and we'll see you next time.